Good evening. It's First Alert meteorologist Isaac Williams. A check of the forecast here. We'll dive into a little bit more of the specifics on two First Alert weather days coming up. It's Thursday and Friday of this week. It's been a while since we've had one. I've been treated to some pretty quiet and dry and hot weather, yes, but it has not stormed in a while. That is some good news. We're finally getting a chance to dry out. But First Alert weather days coming up Thursday and Friday. Watching for the possibility of widespread storms both days. So even though we're not looking at anything imminently affecting the forecast, go ahead and start to plan on some busier radars for Thursday and Friday. We also will have a chance at a few storms tomorrow and Wednesday. But for the rest of the night tonight, we are shaping up to be pretty nice. The holiday weekend weather that we had the past few days will continue into the rest of the night, and then we will see some changes coming up. So Thursday and Friday, just be prepared for some First Alert weather days coming up for widespread storms. But tonight, temperatures still in the 80s this evening, even some low 90s, but we'll slowly fall off into the mid-70s overnight with a mostly clear sky. We'll have lots of sunshine tomorrow for Tuesday, and we'll see those numbers climb pretty fast. We'll be in the 80s by 9 or 9:30 tomorrow morning, and then we are expecting another hot day tomorrow. But the difference tomorrow is that we will have the chance at a few storms to pop up, unlike the previous few days where we have been pretty certain it will be fully dry across the coverage area. But higher humidity is one of the reasons that we're going to have storms tomorrow, or at least the chance at some storms. But right now the chance is about 30%, so nothing incredibly widespread. Not thinking it's going to be too crazy tomorrow, but don't be surprised to see a few downpours, a few pop-up storms definitely in the picture for Tuesday. And the heat index tomorrow, unlike the previous few days, will be a factor too. 93, but it will feel probably between 95 and 98. We did get to 99 actual degrees today in Eatonton, so it is certainly still quite hot out there, but with the heat and humidity, we'll have the possibility at a few storms. So here's a look at First Alert Futurecast for Tuesday. You can see there plenty of sunshine to start the day. Now, once we get into the afternoon, the best coverage may be over middle Georgia and closer to the coastline. You can see a greater coverage of storms potentially closer to Savannah and then open to the South Carolina coastline. But the dry air that we've been experiencing the past few days is basically shrinking, and the humidity is coming in from all sides, and what was a widespread pocket of drier air is starting to diminish just a little bit. So with that in mind, we are going to see a possibility of a few storms tomorrow, but the coverage still should not be super duper widespread for Tuesday. Here's a look at 7 p.m. We'll still have a few downpours, I think, around on the back end of the rush hour tomorrow, so just keep that in mind as you kind of plan out your Tuesday. For Wednesday, kind of following the same thing as Tuesday, where we'll start off plenty sunny with dry weather holding, and then once we get into the afternoon, the humidity will continue to increase. And then the interesting thing about Wednesday, looks like the best chance of storms is actually east of us into portions of the Carolinas. And you can see widespread storm activity there from the Carolinas back into portions of middle Georgia. We'll be still kind of dealing with the effects of that residual dry air. Still a few downpours expected Wednesday. Also notice a cold front up to the north and west. We have a stronger system potentially kind of taking shape for Thursday and Friday, and that's another reason I'm thinking that we will probably have a better coverage of storms coming up at the end of the week. This system here will be coming in from the northwest, similar to last Wednesday, Thursday, I believe, kind of leading up to the 4th. We had some storms, and then we enjoyed some drier weather. And this is kind of looking similar, although this front I don't think is going to make it through for the weekend, which means storm chances will likely continue. But nonetheless, this front is going to pick up storm potential, I believe, going into Thursday and for Friday. Right now we've got some storms continuing over portions of Texas. We've been kind of following everything with the hill country's flooding, and thankfully right now the radar picture there is dry, but I do believe there could be some additional chances for some wet weather out there, and of course we'll continue to follow the recovery efforts and obviously the forecast going forward out there. A lot of interest in that as well. But we also have interest in when our rain chances are picking up, and notice here by 5 p.m. Thursday, much more of a widespread coverage to the showers and storms on First Alert Futurecast, and that's going to continue into Friday as well. That front's going to come in, interact with that Gulf humidity, and bring us a pretty certain chance of rain. I don't think every single spot gets rain, and we're not at 100% coverage yet here, but we are looking at a much higher potential to see some rain and storms coming in for Thursday and Friday. And then Once we get into the weekend, it looks like we'll be back to what we're going to deal with tomorrow and Wednesday, unless something changes. The coverage of the showers and storms here looks to go down a little bit for the weekend. But leading up to Thursday and Friday here, we have 93 degrees tomorrow, 93 on Wednesday. Now, for comparison, we did at least get to 95 at Hartsville-Jackson today, and I mentioned 99 at Eatonton. So it has certainly been a hotter stretch the past day or so. More normal heat coming up here, but with the humidity, it's actually going to feel a little hotter than it's been feeling in recent days. The heat index has actually been a little bit lower than the actual air temperature over the weekend, thanks to that dry air, but the humidity is coming back, and right now we're looking at about a 60% coverage of storms Thursday and Friday. And then for the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and even into next week on Monday, getting you through the weekend with about a 30% coverage of storms. So going forward here, the most likely days to see heavier impacts and heavier rain and storms Thursday and for Friday. The weekend, again, keeping those temperatures about the same between 91 and 92 with overnight lows in the mid-70s. To the tropics, the good news is that we do see some scattered storms across portions of the Gulf and the Caribbean and the Western Atlantic there, but no imminent tropical development. So we did have Chantal, a tropical storm over the weekend, hit the Carolinas, brought some flooding to the North Carolina region. The remnant circulation of Chantal is actually spinning up near D.C. right now with no additional development expected. Obviously, the low spinning down quite a bit over land, but it did bring quite a bit of impact to portions of the Carolinas. And again, there are no other issues that the National Hurricane Center are watching in the next 5 to 7 days. So at least through the week, no issues expected in the tropics, at least in the Atlantic Basin. The next name on the list is the D-name storm. I believe it is Dexter would be next on the list whenever that system were to form. And you see a little bit of swirl in the satellite pictures here, but there are no imminent concerns here for tropical development. So we'll get you back to the 7-day. Again, here we're looking at spotty storms and downpours tomorrow and Wednesday with widespread chances of rain and storms Thursday, Friday. And then through the weekend, we'll see the coverage back off slightly Saturday, Sunday. And then this is going to be looking at your normal summer storm pattern here going into the weekend, whereas Thursday and Friday is a little bit more storms than we usually see on an early to mid-July afternoon here. So that's the latest here on what we're watching here from the First Alert Weather Center. After some really dry, nice, hot days through the weekend, the humidity, the summer storms are coming back. And again, the most likely days, Thursday and Friday. Don't forget to download the First Alert Weather app. We're always pushing new forecast update videos there. And you can also get the very latest in the Super 7-day forecast there as well.
30 a.m. on ANF Plus. You can also text weather to the number on your screen, and we'll send a link directly to your cell phone.